It's that time of year, our favorite time of year, our top 10 movies of 2024.
Find out what Brad and I thought of the past year in movies and what were our favorite movies coming up on B&B. Welcome to B&B Movie Reviews. We've reached the end of another year in cinema, and although we have our own overall opinions about how the year of 2024 was for film, there was still much to enjoy and that resonated with us to rise to the top of what we deemed to be our favorites of the year. And without any further ado, I'll kick off my list with my 10 through 5, with my number 10 film, Smugglers, a film from South Korea that took me by surprise when I saw it at the Lost Weekend Film Festival, an action crime caper set in the 1970s about a group of female deep divers who get caught up in a high-stakes smuggling scheme with a mix of martial arts action. Director Ryo Sung-won evokes Soderbergh's Ocean's trilogy, On the Ocean.
My 10th favorite film of the year is probably one you've never heard about and you will not see on anyone else's end of the year list. It's John Kinhart's powerful documentary, Married to Comics, which I was lucky enough to see at the AFI Theater in Silver Spring with the director and subjects in attendance. It chronicles the complex marriage between comic book artist Justin Green and Carol Tyler. These two revolutionized the graphic novel memoir, which this film celebrates while also depicting a profoundly romantic yet contentious relationship. It's also an addictive watch.
My number 9 movie of the year is a film that is deeply personal to me. His Three Daughters, streaming on Netflix, is about 3 estranged sisters who come together to caretake their dying father. In the process of their grieving, they must also work through their personal issues that they have with one another, with real and honest tour de force performances from Carrie Coon, Elizabeth Olsen, and Natasha Lyonne. His Three Daughters hit me in a profoundly deep way this year.
For my number 9, I have the delicious yet poisonous thriller, What You Wish For. Writer-director Nicholas Tomnay cleverly lures his audience into an unknown Latin villa where Bryan Grows Jack makes oodles of money as a personal chef to the rich and famous, igniting tremendous envy in his best bud Ryan, played wickedly by Nick Stahl. This film is a tropical Hitchcock treat for those desiring to eat the rich in 2025.
At number 8, this year was the directorial debut of Zoe Kravitz with Blink Twice. For me, this film felt like an introduction to a new voice in cinema in the way Jordan Peele did with Get Out. For a first-time director, Zoe Kravitz has such a handle on the material she is tackling alongside the technical prowess of her camera movements, lighting, and sound design to all work together to build the mystery of the film.
At number 8, I have the best action film of the year, and yeah, it's another one that did not get enough attention in 2024. It's called 1% Warrior in the United States and 1%er in its native country of Japan. Tak Sakaguchi plays an action superstar celebrity desperate to capture the most authentic action, and when his island film set is invaded by 2 Yakuza gangs, he gets his wish. If you like John Wick or The Raid, you must see this film.
My number 7 is the polarizing war film from Alex Garland, Civil War, which is less about war and more about the journalists who cover war and if the pursuit of unbiased journalism can actually evoke real change or just become an echo chamber of one side's belief.
My 7th favorite film of the year is Rose Glass's Love Lies Bleeding. This one is hard to classify. It's a sexy thriller starring Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien, falling in love within the 80s bodybuilding scene while Stewart's creepoid father, played by a monstrous Ed Harris, lurks on the fringes as a mini crime boss. It's also a vicious confrontation with domestic violence, a body horror nightmare, and a trippy, magical, and hopeful dream of the future. Certainly, it was one of my most memorable theater watches of the year as I basked in the awkward squirms and shouts from the crowd around me.
At number 6 is the hyper-stylized, super sensual sports drama Challengers from Luca Guadagnino, one of the most entertaining watches I've had this year. Challengers feels like a pressure cooker of sensuality, ambition, and manipulation that climaxes to a low-stakes tennis match where the stakes couldn't be higher.
Conclave lands as my sixth favorite film of 2024. Director Edward Berger's twisty Vatican thriller is star-studded with some of the year's best performances from Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, and Isabella Rossellini, who could and should nab an Oscar despite only existing within a few short scenes. Berger started work on this film years ago, but it speaks to this moment right now and will probably speak to many more moments in our very near future.
And in my number 5 is a coming-of-age drama, Didi, from director Sean Wang, about a 13-year-old Taiwanese-American boy searching for acceptance and struggling to find himself during the summer before high school. As much as this story is told through the eyes of Didi, for my money, the mother's story of a woman searching for purpose in a foreign land and the struggle for her trying to find connection with her son is the heart and soul of this film.
At number 5 is a film I really never in a million years believed would make my top 10. I generally despise musical biopics and had almost no interest in the icon at the center of this story. But wow, a complete unknown grabbed my attention from nearly the first frame, and I've been listening to Bob Dylan albums nonstop since I left the theater. Timothy Chalamet delivers an exceptional Dylan, and all the other cast members rise to their iconic characters too. However, it's the script's mission to put Dylan's fanboy obsession and his inability to walk the talk he's preaching in his songs under the spotlight that I found the most attractive. Yes, you get a lot of music in this movie, but it plays out like monologues or action sequences, never divorcing itself from the rest of the film's narrative.
All right, Brad, so our top 10 list. So those were our 10 through 5. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk in more discussion of our top 4. So let's go ahead and dive into our number 4s.
The really good stuff.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm going to kick off my number 4. My number 4 was a small indie film that premiered at Sundance. It came out over there, like, I think around October or maybe the end of the summer, and not a lot of people talked about it, but it seems like I'm hearing a lot more people bring it up. It's the movie My Old Ass with Maisie Stella and Aubrey Plaza. Now, this movie took me by surprise. It's not necessarily like a body swap movie or like a time travel movie, and what I like about it is that it doesn't really get caught up in the mechanics of like body swap or time travel or anything like that. But it really does a great job of like, I don't know, really taking like that idea of like, if your older self could talk to your younger self, what advice would you give to your younger self?
It's an extremely compelling concept, and it is one of those films that I missed.
Yeah.
I believe you can stream it now
It's streaming on Prime.
It's on Prime? Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah, so I definitely highly recommend you checking this one out. But the thing that really surprised me about this movie is that, like, we always talk about how, our older self can teach, can impart wisdom on our younger self. But the way I saw this movie was like, there's also a part where sometimes your older self can learn something from your younger self.
I do not believe you.
Well, sometimes as we get older, we can get a little more jaded about life.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We get a little more jaded about life. And sometimes kind of like that innocence and kind of naivete that we had when we were younger can kind of help us as we get older to kind of allow ourselves to live a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give too much away about this movie because the end of this film probably delivered one of the most emotional wallops I've had watching a movie all year. That was just completely profound. It was amazing, the end of this film.
You've compelled me to watch it. I feel like if I woke up or if my younger self woke up in my current body, they would do nothing but scream.
Well, no, don't say it.
My arthritis.
I mean, look, I'm feeling the same way.
The body's not what it once was.
It's not. What's your?
My number 4, totally different direction. Another indie film. I mean, if you look at my top 10, I feel like I'm being an extreme hipster, selecting a lot of films that just don't seem to be getting the attention that they deserve. But this one is Last Stop in Yuma County.
Okay.
It is a thriller set in the year 1979. Jim Cummings from Thunder Road plays a knife salesman who has to get his car filled up with gas. The gas station, unfortunately, is out of gas. They're waiting on the truck.
Okay.
So go hang out at the diner. While he's at the diner, two bank robbers who've just, stored a ton of cash in the trunk of their car also have no gas. They're stuck there too.
Okay.
Powder keg film. What's going to happen?
Okay.
It's directed by Francis Galuppi, who is going to direct the next Evil Dead film.
Oh, interesting.
And this is his first movie. And to me, this was the debut of 2024. This shows a filmmaker who can make a lot out of very little.
Okay.
One set, handful of actors. It's the most intense thing I've watched in 2024. Yeah, you're gonna have a good time with it.
All right, I'm gonna put that one on my list. All right, there we go. So there you have it. Those are our number 4, actually our 10 through 4. When we return, we will talk about our number 3 movies of 2024. Stay right there.
In America, millions of families are facing hunger.
After rent and power, I can get groceries. It's sad to say food comes last. Anna from Texas.
The Feeding America network of food banks helps provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Together, we can end hunger. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory, a victory that is there for the taking. Grab it.
Now that was a great halftime speech. Let's go win.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Should have gotten up.
All right, so welcome back to the show. So we're going to continue our discussion of our top movies of 2024 with our number 3 picks. So, Brad,
Yes.
number 3 of the year.
Yeah, another small indie film.
Oh, okay.
Dune Part 2.
Never heard of it.
This is a movie. It's epic filmmaking, executed perfectly by everyone involved. Denis Villeneuve, just, one of our great American filmmakers. Not American filmmakers. No, Hollywood filmmakers now. We've adopted him.
Yes.
We've stolen him. And when I was watching this movie, like within 5 minutes, there's a lot of anticipation because it's coming off of the first film. I really enjoyed the first film.
Yeah.
But you're starting like in medias res, and just within seconds, I'm like, oh, this is what I've been craving.
Yes.
Dune delivers.
Dude, I remember seeing Dune, and I thought the same thing. And this is on my list. We'll talk about this in the next segment, spoiler alert. But I wasn't the biggest fan of the first movie, but I was looking forward to the second movie. But I go to your point, when this movie starts, you feel like you're in the hands of a director that knows.
A storyteller.
Yeah, a storyteller, a visionary.
Yeah, and again, have you watched the first film since watching the second film? Have you watched them back to back?
I did watch the first one before seeing the second one, and I like the first one a little bit more. I still have kind of some issues with it. I can't really get that invested into the characters as far as where they're at in that story at that moment. But for some reason, 2 just hits me on.
I feel like 2 definitely makes you reevaluate 1.
Yeah.
And elevates 1 to a proper status. Like to me now, Dune 1 and 2 is a lot like Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2.
That makes sense.
Where it's the whole bloody affair.
Yeah.
You need them together to truly enjoy the meal.
That makes sense. So your number 3. I'll talk about a little bit more about Dune in the next segment. But my number 3, I know you had mentioned 1% Warrior as the action movie of the year.
Correct. Yes, and still the right opinion.
Is the right opinion?
It is.
I might push back a little bit on that one. For me, it was the Indian film Kill.
Okay, well that's pretty good. It's a good competitor.
I mean, the Kill was amazing. Now, the one thing I got to say about Kill, if you look at it on paper, this is a straightforward movie. It's a very simple premise, a premise that we've probably seen before. Some goons get on a train, they take over the train, a guy has to fight his way to save his girl.
Yeah, it's called Under Siege 2 Dark Territory.
It's funny, because I was thinking that too, right? But the crazy thing about this movie and what separates it from its simple premise to me is character and the pacing of this movie. The characterization of the lead action star and the relationship that he has with the love of his life, how he relates to her family, and then also the pacing of this where the title, I don't want to give too much away, but it's like when certain things happen and the title card hits.
Yeah, the movie starts over.
Yeah, there's a reason that title card comes in at that moment. And it just kind of, I don't know, it's
to me,
it's an experience.
the structure is what's exciting about Kill.
Yeah.
The plot, I mean, it's so thin.
Yeah.
And you've seen it a million times.
You have.
You get it. It's all shorthand, and that's fine because it's the execution of that shorthand that makes it as exciting as it is.
And the thing that also surprised me about this movie was how it really gives validation and character to the villains. A lot of times these are faceless kind of, kind of like cannon fodder.
Yeah.
But you actually kind of feel for some of the villains when certain things start to happen to them and the people close to them.
They're trapped in a situation too, right? And you have to empathize for them even when they're doing heinous stuff.
Yeah, so this movie just surprised me, and it resonated with me with the relationship that the main action star has with the love interest here. Where this movie kind of ends, it kind of leaves it a little bit kind of like up in the air as far as, what happens. But I like the way this movie ends and how it treats its characters. Kill was just an absolute tremendous watch and a hell of a ride.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
I won't fight you.
So there you go.
Certainly not on a train.
No. Yeah. So yeah, those are our thoughts for our number 3 pick. So when we return, we get down to our top 2, our number 2 picks of 2024. Stay right there.
Diversity is in our nature. It is in nature too. Biodiversity. It connects us and sustains us. But nature's biodiversity is at risk more than ever before, and the future of all life is in our hands. So what will you do? Love it or lose it?
Every minute counts in a poison emergency. That's why Poison Help is standing by 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in over 100 languages. Save Poison Help as a contact in your phone today. Call your local Poison Center at 1-800-222-1222.
All right, so we are back. We are going to continue our discussion, our top movies of 2024. We're going to kick it off with our number 2. So I'm going to start this one off, Brad. So our number 2 is a movie that you just talked about. I teased it in the last segment. It is Dune Part 2. I had mentioned to you before that, this was a movie that I was highly anticipating. I wasn't the biggest fan of the first movie, even though it has grown on me in estimation over time. But like you were saying in the last segment, like this is a movie that you're in the hands of a storyteller, of a visionary, and within the first 5 minutes, you're like, oh yeah, this is peak cinema. Right?
Yeah, we get a lot of science fiction and fantasy these days, and it all looks a little muddy. The emotions are a little rote, and that's certainly not the case with Dune Part 2.
No, not at all. And we mentioned this earlier in the year when we reviewed the movie as well, where this is a movie that you can see all the different departments working at such a high level, whether it comes to the cinematography, the costume design, the set design, the acting. All of these different departments feel like they're just top notch. Like everybody's just working on such a high level.
And they're going out into the world and finding other worlds within ours, right? They don't have to fall into the blue box or the green box or the volume. This is not a flat looking movie. This is a gorgeous movie. This is Lawrence of Arabia but Dune.
There you go. Yeah. So Zendaya, who was in Dune,
Yes.
she had another movie this year.
She did.
What's your
Challengers was my second favorite film of the year.
Okay.
This is a film that we saw early on, but I have not been able to shake. You focused on the sensuality at the center of this film, and when they marketed it, you know, it was that three-way between Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, and Mike Feist that really got everybody into the theater. But once you got into that theater, what you found was a film that was blackly comic. There is a lot of humor in Challengers.
It is.
There's some incredible photography, amazing tennis, high emotions, but it is that black humor that I found the most compelling. And when you get to the end, the final release, the last shot of this movie, I was howling.
Yeah, it's a wild ride, and I mentioned this when I had spoke about it earlier, that this was probably one of the most entertaining watches that I've had all year. And we saw it at a press screening, and we're just watching this, and it's almost like a soap opera playing out on screen. It's like, oh, this person's doing it, and then the way that the movie plays with time and how it jumps back and forth.
The structure's fantastic. And I think if you're the type of viewer who gets frustrated and checks out because characters make bonehead decisions or decisions you wouldn't make, you're going to have a lot of problems with this movie because people are doing things that they should not be doing.
These are not the most likable people, but at the same time, it doesn't.
But I understand why these people do the things that they do.
True. Yeah.
They're just not heading toward the typical Hollywood movie ending.
No, not at all, not at all. And I mean, and again, going to that last moment, like with the tennis match, like Luca Guadagnino and the cinematographer, the way they were shooting that last segment, I mean, with the underneath shots, the POV tennis ball shots, the slow motion,
take your Dramamine.
It's incredible. Like he just got into his cinematography bag with that one, and it looks exquisite. It was definitely one of the best of the year. I absolutely enjoyed that movie. So, yeah, those are our number 2 movies of the year. All right, here we go. This is it. Our number 1 movies coming up right after the break. Stay right there.
Why is just a starting line, for the true self blooms only when we find our purpose, what makes us tick, below the surface. Our reason why is united, undivided, seeking understanding. My why is diversity and unity, a safe space in my community. It's a million faces in a mirror, and everyone belongs. Find your why for a better us.
Kids across America are going to school hungry every day. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
All right, so here we are at the top of the list, our final picks for our number 1 movie, our favorite movie of 2024. So, Brad,
yes.
All right, so our list was a little bit different. I know sometimes in past years, we've kind of like...
I was shocked at how different our lists have been because we've been pretty aligned over the course of 2024.
Yeah.
If you've been watching this show for the past year, like if you have a thumb up, I have a thumb up.
I know. It's like we're always kind of giving, so we do disagree.
Yeah.
And it's nice that our lists are a little bit different to kind of give people out there some more recommendations of things to watch.
Sure.
But our number 1 movie,
same film.
I think we agree on this one.
Yeah.
So what is your number 1 movie? My number 1 movie.
Our number 1 movie of the year is a film that only played in New York and LA in 2024, but we caught it as a press screening and when this film wrapped, you were crying. You were sobbing next to me.
This movie destroyed me, especially like that last, and I mean, we'll get to it, but
the film is A Better Man, or just Better Man.
Better Man.
The life and adventures of pop sensation Robbie Williams, or at least European pop sensation Robbie Williams.
Yeah, because this was my first real exposure to
Same. And the film decides to tell his story in a unique way.
Yeah.
He's played by himself doing like mocap.
Mocap as a chimpanzee.
As a chimpanzee.
Yeah. So and so the whole film is told, and it's pretty much kind of like, you know, a rags to riches, a kind of biopic story.
Again, and I hate biopics.
Exactly.
And I've got 2 of them in my top 10. What has happened?
Exactly. But I think the choice to have him the way he sees himself as this dancing monkey, as a chimpanzee, and told this story, I think it allows you to kind of relate to him a little bit more and connect with his character as he goes through this journey.
The film embraces absurdity and surrealism,
It does.
which you don't often see in biopics.
Yeah.
They're using visuals to tell the emotional story, and you know, that's what a musical should do.
Yeah.
And it is a proper musical. It's
Yes.
not like a Complete Unknown where there's just sequences of Bob Dylan singing.
Yeah.
This is like, you know, The Greatest Showman, same director.
Same director.
When an emotional climax happens, they're singing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then visually, like you say, it is a musical through and through. And with those musical performances, visually, the way that, like you were saying, it embraces like surrealism with the visuals and how it evokes the emotions of the character, which is astounding to watch on screen. When Robbie Williams is going through some of the most painful and heartbreaking times of his life, you see what that is visually on screen and what he's going through, and I think that was
like I think the fact that Robbie Williams is played by a CGI chimpanzee allows you to relate to him even at his lowest moments.
Yeah.
You know, when you watch a musical biopic and they fall into the storm of drugs and alcohol, it's easy to dismiss, you know, what they're feeling because of their addictions.
Yes.
And you cannot escape the heart of this character because it's through the eyes of this CGI chimp. You know, it's Caesar from Planet of the Apes. You just you feel something for this poor creature.
Yeah.
I that was a brilliant move.
Yeah, I absolutely love this movie. And I'm glad that even though it's not playing wide and it doesn't seem like it's really going to be a breakout hit here.
But it has opened this past weekend in the DC DMV area.
It has, and I'm hoping people will check this out. But I'm glad to hear, at least from what I've seen so far, people starting to review this movie are really digging it and enjoying it. So I'm glad people are starting to kind of see what we saw a couple of months ago when we got to see it. So before we get out of here, I did want to talk a little bit about honorable mentions.
Yeah, you always like to throw in a few extra films.
Yeah, I throw a few extra. Not going to talk about them long, but a couple of movies I kind of had that is just outside of my top 10. A Real Pain, you had mentioned.
Great film.
We had mentioned that. It was literally in my top 10 until like a couple of days ago. I was kind of rearranging and thinking about, you know, where some of these movies sat. So I do want to give a shout out to A Real Pain. Another movie I saw that surprised the hell out of me, Smile 2. I dug the hell out of that movie.
This is a brutal movie.
To me, I want to talk about, we talk about like female lead performances in horror movies. We talk about, especially with Ari Aster, with you know, Florence Pugh in Midsommar.
I just realized why you like this movie. It's because of the lead, because she's the Pink Ranger from the Power Rangers
Naomi
film.
Scott. But Naomi Scott is amazing in this movie.
She's great.
I mean, she has to carry this movie end to end, and this movie is a wild ride. It surprised the hell out of me.
But I also think your Power Rangers fandom is leaking into your love of that movie.
Maybe. But yeah, just want to shout that out. I want to shout out Anora, Inside Out 2, Speak No Evil.
Speak No Evil was a surprise.
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed Wicked Part 1, talking about great musicals this year. Cynthia Erivo is astonishing in that movie, defying gravity as the climax of that film. I think was very
Yeah.
clever
Yes.
and worked very well.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, even though it was a kind of up and down year, there was still a lot to kind of enjoy, but here's hoping to a better 2025.
We'll see.
We'll see. All right, guys. So those are our top 10 movies of 2024. So thank you for joining us on this latest episode of B&B Movie Reviews. Come be a part of the conversation. If you have questions, suggestions, feel free to email us at bnbmoviereviews@gmail.com. And with that, we will see you at the movies.